Imagine a world where humanity, with all its ingenuity and technological advancement, did the unthinkable. Set foot on another planet. A feat that echoed across the globe, promising an era of limitless exploration. But what if I told you that, after this monumental leap, we simply stopped? We froze on the edge of the cosmos for more than half a century, observing from afar what we had already achieved. It's a shocking, almost absurd truth that defies the logic of a civilization, that today masters artificial intelligence and reusable rockets prepare to question everything you thought you knew about our space journey. Have you ever wondered why, after landing on the moon in 1969, we never went back? It's one of those nagging questions, a mystery many prefer to ignore. After all, with all our progress, why this long and inexplicable pause? Was something discovered up there that made us retreat? Or is the truth even more complex, more intrinsic to our own human nature? Many believe the answer is purely technical, but the reality is that the reason is a tangle of political and economic decisions and a profound shift in our own soul. If you're tired of superficial explanations, prepare to unravel the true enigma behind this silence. What if I told you that the answer to this paradox lies not in conspiracy theories, but in something much closer to us, something that shaped the very essence of our civilization? The truth is that our journey to the moon and our subsequent departure reveal much about who we are, about our fears, our ambitions, and how we face risk. This video isn't just about space, it's about humanity, about the choices we make and the consequences they bring. By the end, you will not only understand why we haven't returned, but you will also gain a new perspective on the future of our species, knowledge that few have access to. Stay tuned, because the reward is a clarity that will free you from old beliefs. Think about it for a moment. In 1969, humanity did the unthinkable, a leap of faith and ingenuity that led us to set foot on another world. The images of that footprint in the lunar dust still echo in our collective memory, an eternal symbol of what we are capable of. But what happened next? Just 3 years later, in 1972, Apollo 17 lifted off from the gray surface of the moon, and amazingly, that was the last time human feet touched soil beyond Earth for more than half a century. There's a paradox that haunts us. How could a civilization that today masters artificial intelligence, reusable rockets, and self-driving cars simply freeze on the lunar frontier, leaving an inexplicable vacuum? It's almost as if we've reached the summit of a mountain, and instead of continuing to explore the landscape, we've decided to camp for decades, observing from afar what we've already achieved. We live in an era of technological advancements that seem straight out of a science fiction script, where SpaceX lands its giant thrusters with a gravity-defying lightness. And yet, the feat of 1969 remains an isolated achievement, a solitary milestone that no one has been able to repeat for an alarmingly long time. This incongruity, this inexplicable pause, is not merely a matter of technology or an insurmountable technical challenge. It points to something much deeper, something that resides in the very essence of our journey as a species. The answer to this prolonged silence, my dear friend, doesn't lie hidden in far-fetched theories of aliens or secret conspiracies, although curiosity leads us to think so. In truth, it's more complex and, in a way, more human than we imagine. It's an intricate web of decisions, priorities, and a shift in mindset that shaped our cosmic destiny. To truly understand why humanity froze on the lunar frontier, we need to go beyond the surface and delve into the motivations and risks that fueled the first space race, understanding the context that transformed the moon from a destination into a stage of power. To unravel this enigma of lunar silence, we need to go back in time, to the fervent context of the Cold War, where the moon was not just a celestial body, but a gigantic stage for an unprecedented display of power. The Apollo 11 mission, my friend, was much more than a scientific achievement. It was primarily a geopolitical spectacle, a daring checkmate by the United States against the Soviet Union. NASA at that time operated with a colossal budget, almost 5% of all American government money, which showed how much space exploration was a matter of national honor, a symbol of technological and ideological supremacy. The goal was not just to explore, but to conquer, and the moon was the ultimate trophy. During that period, society breathed an air of calculated risk, an all-or-nothing mentality that seems almost unthinkable today. The space race was driven by a courage bordering on recklessness, where each explosion was a lesson learned and each failure a stepping stone to advancement. Remember the tragic Apollo 1 fire, which took the lives of 3 astronauts during a simple pressurization test. A devastating blow, undoubtedly, but the show went on. The mourning was profound, but the determination that lasted for decades. The acceptance of danger was the price paid for the impossible, for the chance to prove to the world what we were capable of, to show who dominated the future. Each rocket launched was a cry of power, and each step on the lunar surface an ideological statement. It was a time when humanity was willing to risk everything to prove its supremacy, transforming the cosmos into a chessboard where audacity was the most important piece. This daring at any cost mentality fueled conquest and took us to places that previously only existed in fiction. But like everything in life, this era of unbridled risk had its limits, and the future, which seemed so promising and boundless, would begin to be shaped by a new philosophy, one that prioritized precaution above all else, radically changing the pace of our space journey. After that period of almost unrestrained daring, humanity, my friend, found itself facing a new reality, and with it, a new philosophy for space exploration. The Artemis Mission, although ambitious in its goal of remaining on the moon, is characterized by extreme caution, an aversion to risk that contrasts sharply with the Apollo era. It's not for lack of technology, believe me, but for an excess of responsibility that permeates every decision. It's as if we've learned the hard way that the price of a mistake in space, especially in the age of instant communication, is much higher than imagined, costing not only money, but reputation and credibility. The age of instant communication, Higa, has transformed era into a global crisis. The death of a single astronaut today would become a devastating political headline, a national trauma with incalculable financial and reputational repercussions. NASA, with the experience of tragedies like those of Challenger and Columbia, has learned that risk is no longer an inevitable part of the journey, but a variable to be reduced to the minimum possible. This has led to a bureaucratic and slow process, where precision and exhaustive validation have replaced daring, shaping a new rhythm for exploration, a rhythm that prioritizes safety above all else, even if it means more time and more money. It is in this scenario that rockets like the SLS and the Orion capsule become true monuments to modern bureaucracy. Every part, every line of code, every cryogenic valve needs to be exhaustively audited, certified, and validated by dozens of teams. The result is an undeniably safer program, but also slower, more expensive, and, in a way, emotionally distant from that unbridled passion of the 1960s. Apollo was born from ingenious improvisation, from the urgency of a race. Artemis, on the other hand, is born from necessary precaution, from meticulous control. And it is in this delicate balance between the haste of the past and the awareness of the present that the future of space exploration is being patiently rewritten, paving the way for a new way to finance and sustain this journey. Remember when NASA operated with a gigantic budget, almost 5% of the American government's spending, all to win a political race? Well, with the end of the Cold War, that colossal investment simply lost its meaning. The Apollo program was deactivated, not for lack of capacity, but because its political purpose had been fulfilled. The budget plummeted to less than 1%. The production lines of the legendary Saturn V were dismantled, and the accumulated knowledge, a true treasure, ended up fragmented. The moon, once a political destiny, became a distant memory, while humanity here on Earth plunged into the digital revolution. While humanity remained confined to Earth's orbit, observing from afar what it had already conquered, space became a territory kept alive only by robots and automated probes. It's quite a paradox. Having overcome the ultimate challenge, the human species seemed to have lost the reason to keep trying. This half-century gap between human footprints in the lunar dust was not merely a technological pause. It was, in essence, a pause of purpose, a moment of profound reassessment of what we truly wanted out there. But 50 years later, humanity is once again aiming for the moon, And this time the purpose is radically different, with a new vision of sustainability. The great breakthrough of the Artemis mission, my friend, is the shift from massive government funding of Apollo to a partnership model with private industry. The moon ceases to be a political destination and becomes an economic platform, a true business in the cosmos. The search for resources like ice in polar craters, which can be converted into water, oxygen, and fuel, the construction of infrastructure, and the development of interplanetary logistics are the new focuses. Companies like SpaceX, with their promise of scale and cost reduction through reuse, are key players in this new landscape. It's the birth of a resilient and scalable lunar ecosystem, the first attempt at an interworld economy, paving the way for Mars. Ultimately, the Artemis mission is not merely a repetition of the glory of Apollo, a space-age déjà vu. No, the purpose now is much grander. It's a complete redefinition of our relationship with the cosmos. It's no longer about a sprint of conquest, planting a flag and returning home. Artemis seeks to build the foundations for a sustainable human presence beyond Earth, transforming the moon from a destination into a true foundation for a spacefaring civilization. It's a long-term vision that transcends immediacy and aims for an interplanetary future. In this new paradigm, the moon becomes a gigantic laboratory, an essential testing ground for learning how to live and build far from home. Each stage of the mission is carefully planned to teach us crucial lessons: how to extract local resources, how to generate energy in hostile environments, how to build protection against relentless radiation, and how to master the complex logistics of resupply and interplanetary transport. It is a continuous learning process that forces us to evolve in every aspect of engineering, biology, and human resilience, preparing us for even greater challenges, such as the colonization of Mars. When a new footprint is added to the old ones in the lunar dust, it will not be a simple repetition of the past. It will be the first step in a continuous line, the beginning of a new era, where the true frontier has always been internal. The capacity to transform will into method and method into permanence. The moon, then, ceases to be an endpoint and becomes the first chapter of a much longer story. A saga that does not end when the rocket disappears on the horizon. On the contrary, it continues to be written night after night in that grey dust that in time we will learn to call our neighborhood, our home, the foundation for our cosmic future. So, after uncovering the true reason behind the lunar silence, the big question that remains is, what will you do with this clarity? Did you realize how the story of our journey to the moon and the subsequent unexplained stop is a mirror for our own lives, for the projects we start with fervor and that we sometimes abandon when the initial purpose fades or when the risk becomes too great? Apollo's audacity and Artemis's caution teach us valuable lessons about ambition, resilience, and the importance of a lasting purpose. It's not time to just watch, but to reflect and, more importantly, to act. Think about it. If humanity, with all its capabilities, needed to reassess its motives and strategies to return to the moon, what does that say about your own journeys? Are you just sprinting for a quick win, or are you building the foundations for a meaningful permanence in your goals? It's easy to get lost in the immediacy, but the true legacy, whether in space or in life, lies in the ability to transform willpower into method and method into a solid construction. Don't expect the invisible fuel, be it money, motivation, or support, to last forever. Start building your own logistics, extracting your own resources, and planning your permanence. The story of the moon is an invitation for you to look at your own sky, at your own challenges, with a new perspective. How about stopping just dreaming of getting there and starting to plan how to stay there? How about transforming your fears into calculated precautions and your ambition into an unwavering purpose? Don't let the silence of the past dictate your future. If this journey through the cosmos has made you think, provoked you to question, and inspired you to seek more, then our work here is only beginning. To continue unraveling the mysteries of the universe and existence itself, and to transform your life with knowledge that few share, subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, and join our community of curious and transformative people. Success, my friend, is a continuous journey, and we're in this together.